Hello again, guys, and welcome to the show. Today we're going to be talking about motivation and where it comes from, how to acquire it, and even more so, how to stay motivated when you're feeling like things are becoming challenging, when you're hitting plateaus and it becomes more difficult to hit your goals or to stay on track, and you become a bit more distracted and it becomes easier to deviate from the goal itself. And this question came in from a fan of the show, basically, who asked me the question and said, how do I sort of stay motivated when hitting plateaus? So essentially, I'm going to try and answer that question today. And for me personally, I would say, honestly, motivation is not something I typically struggle with. But I know I've been a personal trainer for over a decade now. I think I started PT in like 2011. And it's something that comes up very often with new members coming to the gym or new clients, if you will. They always say that they need a trainer to stay motivated or get motivated. And I find it's the questions coming from the wrong place. And if you need to be motivated to achieve a goal, then your motivation or your goals are not anchored well enough, if you will. So I'm going to try and answer that question the best I can, and in my own interpretation of that, if you will. Personally, motivation for me comes in two different forms. One in itself is externally, and the second one is internally. And the external motivation is like from seeking it from some sort of inspiring video or from a trainer or somebody external outside of yourself which motivates you. This sort of motivation doesn't really last long. It's something like short term. You'll find like it's inspiring at the time. It gives you like a sense of drive or ambition to do something. But it only lives for a short period. It might be just that hour. It might be just for that day. It might be for 2 days. It could be for a week, if it's something that strikes a chord with you quite well. But usually it's not for a long period. I'd say at best it's for a week, maybe 2 at the most, if not even less than that. But internal motivation, that's different. That can last for as long as you want it to be, or as it'll last for as long as you are in tune with your goals and the desire for that is strong. If there's some sort of deep connection towards your goals, it'll last, and it can last forever. It might not last forever in all cases, but it can last a lot longer than just an external motivation, if you know what I mean. So if that sounds like you, then you'll resonate with what I'm trying to say. So my motivation, I'm going to try and give you a little bit of backstory as to why I'm so motivated, and maybe you can relate to it or understand where I find my motivation from. So me personally, I've always had a desire to be fit, strong and healthy, and I think that's come from my environment. And my environment's dictated that because, being young, I think I've mentioned before in the previous show, I've been a victim of bullying, but also been around, not just that was one motivation to become better, but another one is because I was always around competitive lads, like athletes or lads that are just strong and fit, and so it sort of inspired me to be quite a competitive, high testosterone young lad. It definitely encouraged me to want to be better and want to be a winner. Anyway, I've always done martial arts and I've always done like some sort of fitness growing up. I think my first experience to that was around the age of 7, and I've always been involved in something along the lines of competitive sports for the most part of my life. And I think that's what's been like an anchor for the most part of my fitness journey. That's what's helped me to think I want to become better, I want to become fitter, I want to become stronger. So that's been my ultimate motivational goal. And I think with that being in place, that's always given me new goals to strive towards. And because those have been my goals, I've been around other competitive guys, and my motivation has then been like, I want to beat you, I want to beat you, I want to be stronger than you. Coincide that with being bullied, there's a motivation, a strong emotional motivation there to want to become better, to want to become stronger, to defend myself. So if that makes sense, that's where my underpinning has been. So what's that journey been like? What's it look like? So being a young lad, as kids are, there's always some sort of bigger kid. There's always some sort of competition. And with that, you know, there's emotions involved, and there's always a victim and there's always a bully. I've personally always, a little bit of backstory about me. My backstory is I've been a tall kid all my life and been a very skinny kid, and that's been an easy target for me for other bullies that are just as tall as me or taller than me, or see me as a victim because I look like I could be a challenge, but I'm actually, to them, I'm younger, weaker, so it's more satisfying than hitting someone smaller or whatnot, if that makes sense. So anyway, I decided I was going to get involved in martial arts, and I started out at karate at the age of 7, and then as I got older, I endeavoured in boxing at the age of 11, and that was my first proper exposure to competitive sports, because I was a bit older then. I understood the situation a bit more. I was just going into high school, so there's definitely a significant difference in size from the first years to the fifth years, and there's a lot more hormones involved when you're at that age. I think there's a lot more going on. You know, you're aware of a lot more stuff, like you're aware of girls a lot more. Being a guy who's interested in that, you're aware of more sports that are at your disposal. There's more competition in school, and so on and so forth. So when I got into boxing, I was in an environment around a lot of competitive guys of all ages, of all sizes, of all abilities, and there's this really big high testosterone brawl sort of environment. It's really good because it helps to motivate you, because you're all spurring each other on, but at the same time it's a selfish sport because you're on your own. So, you know, you're competing against everybody, but in a second sense, everyone's your team as well. And I think environment plays a big role when it comes to motivation. If you're around motivated people, you're going to feel more motivated, right? But if you're around people that are not motivated than you, who are less motivated, who are less goal-driven than you, who don't even have any ambition, or they find entertainment in other directions which doesn't align with your goals, then you're going to be the one trying to deliver motivation to them, or even encourage them to do what you would like to do, if it's fitness related, if it's sports related, or whatever it might be. So environment plays a big role, and I've been lucky because doing like martial arts, doing boxing, to later then go on to doing Thai boxing, which is like a Thai version of kickboxing, to then go on to mixed martial arts, with grappling and so on and so forth. There's always been an environment of guys who are on the same journey as me in different sort of ways, and there's always been that sort of brotherhood where you're pushing each other. You develop relationships in them sort of environments with people who are like-minded, or people who are more motivated than you, more skilled than you, and when you align yourself with those sort of people, it can only rub off. Do you know what I mean? So you sort of pick this sense of needing to achieve, because you're always setting new heights. You know, when you get in there, you want to be better than the best person in there, or when you see yourself improve, it motivates you to want to get better, and then you test it out regular by sparring, or by going out running, by doing fitness circuits, and you're always competing against each other. But then there's the element of achievement amongst each other's. You know, you give each other props, you give each other credit. You know, you test yourself even further by competing, going out and fighting in competitions, and you see how good your skills are, and you keep competing, and you know, and it spurs on like that. Now in the fitness sort of game, where it's just gym related, it's a different sort of element of, there's not so much competition unless you go in towards bodybuilding. I think the competition in itself is yourself, or the people you keep around you, like your friends and stuff like that. So that depends on yourself. If you're doing it for your own personal goals, which is always great, I think that in itself is an anchor. I think if it's just for that your motivation is, then you want to find something deep rooted that makes you want to be better. It makes you want to strive to become the best version of yourself. And I think for a lot of people, that's the hardest thing to do, because there's so much distractions around, and there's so much in this world at the minute that pulls you away from being able to just seek out your goals and achieve them. For example, working, maybe having a family and kids to look after, maybe having someone else that's dependent on you. And these things become time consuming. Jobs themselves become time consuming. Traveling becomes time consuming. And all this, especially stress and other people, relationships that you're trying to uphold, that alone can also cause you to deviate. So this is where aligning yourself with people who share similar goals is going to make it a lot easier for you to achieve your goals, if you will. Now, relating this to sort of fitness, I believe everyone should seek out fitness goals. That's just me, and I think that's because I've come from that environment. I think men and boys in general should definitely undertake some sort of fitness journey, because it just brings so many benefits, and it brings so many characteristics and traits that are just going to help you become successful in any endeavor in life. You know, you're going to learn discipline, commitment, getting used to making sacrifices. Yeah, you're going to be driven in the elements of seeking out goals and achieving them, and that then transpires into other areas of your life. It could be in your relationships, it could be in your job, it could be in competition, or it might just be to become a better version of yourself, building more muscle, becoming fitter, becoming stronger, wanting to protect your family, learning to fight, whatever it might be. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so that's why I think it's important for all men, especially young men, to sort of get involved in fitness. You're just going to become a best version of yourself, and it's going to help create more goal-orientated mindset. And I think when you get involved in fitness, when you get involved in some sort of competitive sport, it might be a team sport, it might be a solo sport like myself, you're going to develop a mindset, or you're going to go through hardship in that by trying to become better. You're going to push yourself. You're going to challenge yourself more. And when you do that, you build a stronger mindset, and you know, that stronger mindset builds willpower, it builds determination, and you become more fortified to going through situations which take you out your comfort zone. And I think that in itself is important. So why do you stay motivated? How do we get to the root of becoming motivated, staying motivated? I think if I'm going to take some key points away from that, it's going to be being around like-minded people. I'm going to say it's being in an environment which challenges you often. I'm going to say it's setting deep goals which have strong anchors towards emotions that you have, or some sort of outcome that you want in life. I can say that these things I tick all the boxes for, and this is why I find it easier to become motivated. For me, if I was to go through all these and list how do they apply to me and why, I'll say first and foremost, the environment. I've aligned myself with people over the years from being in competitive environments, with friends that are all fitness or involved in fitness or enjoy fitness. It's not just a hobby, it's a way of life for them. And therefore it's become that for me as well. They motivate me with positive reinforcement. You know, they give me praise when I do well, I give them praise. They're rooting for me, or they're chanting for me when I'm struggling, or we were training together, like encouraging you to get a few more reps out, or what it might be when you're sparring, encouraging you to just work harder when you get tired, tell you to push through it. I think that's a massive important thing. So you're aligning yourself with the right people. Environment. Well, environments are, I guess, being in the gym is an environment to be that encourages you, because you're always around. And I think the gym is an environment of self-improvement. So that's encouraging. Not just that. The environment can be your friends, can be your family, can be your people you want to be around. But also another environment is being in like some sort of hobby or activity which encourages you to become better, which you also is going to, you know, be around people that want you to get better as well. And then next, deep-rooted emotional goals. I think my goals definitely align with that. I've sort of got a mindset where I want to be, where I understand self-improvement is a massive importance in one's life, especially for a man. You know, if I'm going to put it in a simple context, the difference between men and women. First and foremost, we all live in an environment now where life is at convenience. You know, we've got food at convenience. We all live in an environment now where, you know, the world that we live in is a massive, everything's at convenience. You know, you can get deliveries delivered to your door, you can pay online, you can, for everything, it's Amazon, takeaways, or whatever it might be. You know, there's fast food restaurants, there's takeaways everywhere on each corner, you know, which encourage you not really to eat healthy, or not, you know, you don't have to cook. Travel, you know, you've got taxis that can pick you up and take you everywhere. You don't have to walk anywhere. You have to cycle anywhere. It's just very convenient, and everything is on the phone. Everything, it's just all easy. Even information itself on the phone, push of a button on the internet. It's just dead easy. So there's no need to go out and do the hard work. Everything is dead simple and fast. So when you're given that, you know, easy life brings a lazy mindset. But when you look for those things that cause you to have to do the hard path, that's when it becomes a normal thing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so self-improvement's become a big importance for me. And I think with regards to the difference between men and women when it comes to self-improvement is that a woman is typically born with value as we view it in modern day, you know. If a woman's good looking, she's going to have an easier life than someone who's not as good looking. You know, there's gonna be more guys chasing them, there's gonna be more guys wanting to give them stuff and pay for them and all this and that and the other. So, you know, I think doesn't matter what level of a woman you're at, that's typically the case. Men want to sort of give and cater to women, and it's more traditionally put that a man would pay for women when you're dating or in life generally. The man's the breadwinner, the woman's the nurturer, the home caretaker and stuff. There's not so much nowadays, you know, I'm not trying to get stereotypical and say it's a bad thing for a woman not to do that. What I'm trying to say is that there's a certain sort of dynamic which sways towards a woman having that sort of at her disposal. Whereas a man typically doesn't get that luxury of women buying him stuff unless he's some sort of pimp, I don't know. Typically, a man has to earn his value. He's got to get a good job. He's got to build himself up. He's got to build his physique and become strong. He's got to become a protector for his family, for himself. It's more of a competitive sort of life, if you will. And again, I'm not saying this is just for men. It's very much competitive for women as well. But generally speaking, for men, it's a bit more competitive in that. So you know, for me, I've found that self-improvement has not only been something that's needed, but I've also desired wanting to do that. And so with that desire has come this sort of ambition to want to become better. You know, I'm striving towards it. And so you look for things to challenge you more to become better. So with that, I've sort of got this vision of who I want to be later in life. And so that is an emotional thing for me, because not only do I want to achieve this to make my life better, but for those around me, I want to also give them, you know, a better life, or help give back to them people, if you will. So that's like, especially like family and friends. So that's my deep-rooted like trigger for wanting to achieve, where my motivation comes from. You know, I've got 2 younger brothers, so I want to set a certain standard for my younger brothers. That plays, you know, that's something that's deep-rooted to me. I want to become, you know, the good older brother, if you will. You know, setting a standard. And then the next one is having goals that align with you in your life. And I think, for me, that's pretty much from everything I've just said then, really. Everything around me is geared towards becoming better. My purpose is to become better. The people I want to become better for are my purpose. And so it sort of bounces off each other. I think where most people tend to go wrong is that the goals that they want, they don't want them enough. And it may be to sort of impress somebody else and not doing it for themselves. Do you know what I mean? They're not actually doing it for yourself. And I think if you're doing it for yourself and you've got a strong reason to do it for yourself. So I think if you've got a deep-rooted goal that you want to achieve for yourself and you've got this ambition to become better, I think finding internal motivation becomes easier. Do you know what I mean? And I think if you don't have that, then find that. And I think if you've not got a purpose or a reason to become better or want to have a better life, then it becomes more difficult to find that continuing, ongoing motivation. And that's where you might think, oh, I need to find external motivation because I don't have any internal motivation. Maybe you're not using that internal motivation as your driver. And if you don't, I think that's something you've got to sort of like find in yourself and then just build up. If you don't know how to build it up, I think you just got to find that purpose. Find something that anchors. I mean, if you're a parent, I think there's nothing better than your kids to become better for, to set a strong example for. I think that in itself is something that I think about, and I've not even got kids yet. It's something I think, right, I want to be a certain man for my kids when I do have them. And if I'm on that trajectory already, then they're only going to be observers of that as I'm still continuing to become this certain individual and this certain leader and this certain figure in their life that inspires them, boys or girls. I think that in itself, if you can find that as a strong enough purpose, if you've got kids, or if you just want kids and you're a young man, I think in these days, you know, in modern days, it's not easy out there. It's a hard, you know, it's tough. There's a lot of challenges, and I think starting off young is the best place to start. You know, you've got everything at your disposal. You've got no commitments. There's less things you've got to consider. You can be a bit more selfish and focus on yourself. If not, you know, if you're a mother, if you're a father, and you're a bit later in life, there's no better driver than to start now. Start today. Like, there's nothing holding you back. You know, it's never too late. I mean, I've hit rock bottom many times over, and I think there's nothing better than being at the bottom, because the only way is up from there. There's no going back. Do you know what I mean? There's only so far down you can go. So you can only get better. And I think mindset comes into all this as well, with the perspective you have. If you're a person that continues to look at your negatives, a person who looks at your failures, and you penalise yourself all the time for them, you just focus on them, and you don't focus on wins, you don't focus on the good things you do, you don't focus on things that you've improved on, or little achievements. If you don't set yourself little targets, I think that in itself is your massive failure. You know, you can do this in many ways, and it can be damn simple as like going to the gym and tracking your weights. It can be tracking your food. It can be tracking your daily habits and achieving certain tasks you set out for yourself. If you do this day to day, what this does is it builds up a portfolio of little wins that you're doing, and you see the improvement in itself. It's sort of, the numbers don't lie. Do you know what I mean? You're seeing that progress. And I think that is a massive thing that spurs you on. And again, I can relate it to having before and after pictures. You can relate it in jobs, you know, climbing up the ladder and achieving there, earning more money, you know, gaining financial progress, or, you know, just accumulating more wealth over time. That in itself becomes progress. And the more you get, the more you achieve, the more you want. And it drives you more to be, you know, to prosper in that direction, no matter what it is. So if you're tracking your progress in any sort of capacity, whatever it is, not only you're more accountable, but you're seeing the trajectory of where you're going, and it only spurs you on to go further in that direction. Do you know what I mean? So the mindset is a big thing. How you talk to yourself is a big thing. And it's something I focus on a lot. And I think I've built that up over time myself, from being in challenging circumstances, from having people that tell me I'm doing well, from me doing the same and reciprocating that, which you then, you know, you bounce off each other. But not just that. In those times where you are failing, in those times where you do hit plateaus, in those times where you do feel like life is just pushing you down and you've got no, you know, you're finding it hard to keep motivated, you find it hard to keep going forward. I think seeing failures as a lesson is something that really, really helps me just sort of push it off, like brush it off and think, no, I'm going to keep going. Because if instead of saying, oh, I failed today, I'm shit, I've done rubbish, or I'm never going to get there, instead of saying, hang on a minute, what can I take out of this situation? Flip it into a positive. What can I take out of this that's going to actually help me move in the direction I want to go in? Take that away from today, if anything. If you're going to take anything away, just understand that you've got to start looking at things a little bit different. Change your mindset and the outlook of things. Try and find something that gives you purpose. Some reason, some deep reason as to why you need to become better. And then align yourself with being in the right environment or being around the right people. And I'm not saying go, and leave all your friends, don't be friends with them anymore. But if you find yourself, you're around friends, family, or people in general, work colleagues or whatever it might be, and those people don't align with your goals and they distract you or they hold you back in some capacity, I think you've got to then reevaluate where you put your energy and maybe try and push that into areas where it's going to force you to become better and it's going to allow you to become better. It's going to allow you to grow in the right way. That's where I find internal motivation comes from, and it's the best motivation to have. If you've got any questions or you'd like me to go into, elaborate on this a bit more, or we're going to start a discussion about this, please leave some comments below. I could talk about this crap all day, but I think it's important. I think we've all got to find our own motivation. I think we've all got to find our own purpose. I think we've all got to strive to become better. That's just standards I set for myself, and I think it's not some bad standards to have. Anyway, thanks for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've taken some value out of it, and I hope you learned something a little bit today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. Stay tuned for more episodes, and I'll see you next time.